up, guys? It's the Faruqi brothers back with another video. And today for you guys, we're going to be talking about a few things, but we're going to be starting off with the Venom trailer. So this week, Venom 2, it's a movie that comes off maybe like a little bit of a controversial, not controversial, but a divisive first movie with Venom 1. But this time around, you have a new director in Andy Serkis. You got potentially some MCU connections. So let's just jump right into it and give our quick thoughts. And I'm going to start with, I'll start with myself, actually. I'll go first. Personally, it might be a hot take, but I didn't like the trailer. And I felt like the trailer felt way too goofy for me, personally. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but then again, it probably does sell it. But here's the thing, everything's expectation. I came into this movie thinking that, okay, you have Andy Serkis. He's a director who even though he hasn't directed many movies, but you come off the sense that, okay, he's Caesar from Planet of the Apes, he's Gollum from Lord of the Rings. He knows how to take on these serious characters, and he's very good with mocap. So obviously, if you're doing a Venom character with all CGI, there's a lot of right tools to make it work. But I was hoping that when you're doing a villain like Carnage, when you're telling a story that this movie's going to be rated R, the last movie PG-13, then we're going to go dark, and we're going to see like a different side of the Venom character. But when the trailer plays, it turns out it really does feel like Venom 1, right? It feels like this is a sequel in every sense of the imagination to the first Venom, including in terms of tone, including in terms of the humor. And humor's not a bad thing. It's just this one feels very silly. So personally, this trailer didn't do it for me. I don't know about you guys, but we'll find out right now, won't we? So Zian, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Am I too harsh on this? Where do you stand on the Venom 2 trailer?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying about Andy Serkis, like from his performances, and he directed things like Mowgli, which obviously much darker adaptations, following more true to that original story, like the Disney version. So from that, you think that, okay, he's tackling Venom, and you have a character like Carnage, which innately is a dark character. You'd go for a more darker approach. But then again, when you look at the success of Venom 1, I feel like the reason it has such commercial worldwide success in terms of box office was because it was like dumb fun, but not dumb in like MCU, where MCU is a little more childish fun. This was like, all right, you have a little violence, you have a little more adult themes and story, but there is also some comedic elements, which Venom is obviously as a character you can throw in there as a strong comedy element with him. So I can see why maybe when they're writing or figuring out what they should do with the film, they add some of those elements, but I think it's going to be darker than what the trailer is showing it to be. I think this first trailer just to be like, all right, you like Venom 1, you like how it was and how it was about. Well, this is a similar tone to that, but I think just because of what the story is about, it has to be darker in some sense, and it will be in the film itself.
Umar, I mean, you tend to, like me, like the deeper storytellings, right? So, I mean, Venom and superhero movies, I mean, at some point they get kind of homogenized, but this one, Venom 2, I mean, does it really stand out to you? Does it feel like, hey, this is something that could be good or could be interesting, or has the ship started to sail from what Venom could be? I mean, I don't know where you stand on this one. What do you think about the trailer?
I mean, you got it right. I'm with you on it. I think, the last one was... it was all right. We watched it together. It was cool to have that whole experience of watching Venom 1 together and stuff. But it was not. It's not my cup of tea. Like, it's not the way. The way they made it is not something that I'm a fan of. And I think that using these characters that are, that really are like a bit darker. Like they are set in a darker world. It just doesn't make sense to have them cracking jokes that don't work with the overall theme, like the overall theme that you have, and even just from small things like the color grading and the small little things. Like, you've set up an environment where it would have been, where the fans can see the potential of what a dark movie would look like while they're watching the movie that you've made. So like they're gonna be in this constant comparison type thing, and then it's to each their own. I mean, for me, I gravitate towards a darker, deeper kind of something with a little bit more depth than what Venom 1 was, and that's why Venom 2 is something that I'm not really too excited for. But I mean, just like any other movie, you give it a shot. I hope at least Carnage is handled well, or at least they give him a some depth and some darker tone, but I'm not really too excited for it.
Samir, are me, Zion, and Umar, are we getting too harsh in this movie? Are we not taking it for its face value? I mean, where do you stand on this trailer?
Personally, I think it looks better than Venom 1, even though the tone and the humor are basically the same. I think with Carnage and Riot and hinting at where Spider-Man could be, and a lot of talk about that newspaper scene in the trailer with the same Daily Bugle logo as the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I think it has a lot of potential, and the trailers are just not showing as much as they could.
I mean that's the perfect, I think, rebuttal to what we're saying, is because we've seen movies where the trailers are actually, we've seen both versions where the trailers are great, the final movie ends up being the opposite tone, or the trailer isn't good and the movie ends up being great. And Venom, the Venom trailers, if you look at the original Venom trailers, there was a level of darkness to them. And then when we went to the movie, it was decisively more goofier than the trailers. And this, maybe, like Zion said, it could be the opposite. Like maybe the trailers being humorous and trying to get the general audience to buy in, and then when you go into it, they're going to lean into R rating. They're going to lean into what Carnage can do. And then the next thing, which Samir already gave us the segue to it, which is the connections to the wider Marvel universe. Andy Serkis said in an interview shortly after the trailer dropped that Venom is not aware of Spider-Man at this point in the movie, which means, and we've heard a lot of rumors that, well, Sony is very interested in combining the Venom universe with the MCU. That's what they want more than anything. They want Tom Holland's Spider-Man to meet Tom Hardy's Venom. Umar, do you think this movie, from the trailer, do you think that they're making any bridges to get to that point? I mean, Samir did mention there are a couple of Easter eggs, Spider-Man Easter eggs, but do you think that they're doing anything crazy that makes you feel like, hey, they deserve for these two characters to meet? Where do you stand on that?
I mean, I think it's a mismatch and a mistake in the sense of, like, the tones don't match. First of all, like, I don't know what that would look like in the MCU, just because Sony tends to make movies that are have their own take, and when you're gonna try to bridge with the MCU, you're gonna have to play by the rules that Kevin Feige makes. So it's gonna be, which is no knock, by the way, on Kevin Feige. I know we got a DC fan base, so it's not a knock when I say that. It just is what it is. So I think that the as far as like the movie itself, like Venom 2 making bridges to the MCU, I think they'll do what most of these movies do, where they'll have Easter eggs, very small little things happening. But I don't think they're gonna do anything significant to like make steps in that direction. Like I don't think there's gonna be a post-credit scene where Tom Holland shows up or something like that, where it's like, oh, okay, now you're doing something where it's like you're showing it very.
The irony is that's one of the rumors there were earlier while the movie was in production. One of the rumors were that Tom Holland is filming a short scene for this movie. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen, and we'll find out. But we do know, and I guess Jan's question, but we do know that the next Spider-Man movie is going to be a multiverse movie. So, like Andy Serkis said, this Venom is not aware of Spider-Man, which means more likely than not, this Venom is not in the MCU as of right now. We already know they're doing things with the multiverse in Spider-Man 3, with rumor where we already know they're bringing Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2's universe, and they're bringing Jamie Foxx's Electro back, and there's rumors about Willem Dafoe doing a secret cameo. So there's a lot of stuff happening with Spider-Man 3 that if they wanted to take this Venom out of his universe and just throw him into the MCU and force him to interact with Tom Holland, that could be what the most interesting movie is. But I don't know if that's happening in Venom 2. I think that's maybe a Venom 3 thing where we're going to get a Venom versus Spider-Man movie. John, do you think that's a possibility? Do you feel like this is the right move to do, or do you think keep it on its own thing? I mean, where do you stand on this one?
I mean, yeah, like you said, the multiverse aspect basically opens any possibility of what could happen to Spider-Man, because after his own trilogy ends, they can basically take him any direction they choose to. And like obviously a lot of people originally saying that, oh, he would have fit perfect in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and even story-wise, technically, there is a spot where you can throw him in, because in the story after Gwen Stacy's death, there's like a good 6 months where he wasn't Spider-Man anymore. So if Venom landed just at that time, there wouldn't be a Spider-Man swinging around, and it could take place just right in that couple of months stretch where Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is like semi-retired, and before he comes back at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2 if they want to go that route, which probably is not going to be the case. But that would be a cool way to fit that in together. As far as Tom Holland Spider-Man, yeah, I guess theoretically it's possible with those kind of ways, but I don't really see how they would do that, because you do all this world building with Carnage and Venom in Venom's own universe, basically, and then just to pluck him out and throw him into Tom Holland's universe and just basically forget and just throw away everything else that Venom did in his own film series. I feel like it's kind of dumb, and kind of like, then what's the point of making all these Venom movies in the first place? So something like that I feel like might not work. And long run, if they introduce Venom, I feel like it'll just be a separate entity in the MCU, or maybe not even at all.
Samir, Zion and Umar both gave different takes. I mean, I'm interested to hear where you stand on that. I mean, do you think that, number one, this is a smart direction, the way they're building? Number two, is it logically feasible that, hey, we're going to see Tom Holland versus Venom sometime maybe in phase 4 or 5?
I think having this Venom character interact with Tom Holland would be weird because of its tones, like Umar said. I mean, even though Venom is kind of jokey, he is basically biting people's heads off in the movies. So I think it would be weird. But everybody wants to see Venom and Spider-Man meet at some point. So I think I agree with Jan, where the best option for Venom and Spider-Man meeting would be with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Which, if they bring him into Spider-Man 3, they could potentially open up something.
They're very interesting, and then that gets into all this type of logistics, legal logistics, what Sony wants to do with the Spider-Man character. In pure theory, they can do whatever the hell they want. Like, they can create a whole trilogy or continue the Andrew Garfield trilogy, or they can do something with Tobey Maguire, even though there are heavy rumors that Tobey Maguire will have, if he shows up in Spider-Man 3, he's going to show up in another movie as well. Like, they want to sign him for more than one movie, particularly Tobey.
They should go all in, to be honest. Like, the multiverse aspect is something that they should just do, which is a good segue into the next.
Yeah. So, and the last thing, the multiverse thing, the point you made, let's call it what it is. Like, if you put, and we say this all the time, but if you put Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire on screen together, I think that's going to get fans a lot more interested in seeing Michael Keaton back as an 80-year-old Batman. But that's just me. So let's talk about this quick topic. Let's spend just 3-4 minutes on it max. But I want to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League and the number disparity in the data. So Samba TV, which is the data collection agency, which looks at all the streaming services, looks at video on demand numbers, and puts it all together to see how these movies are doing. As we know, they reported that Justice League beat Falcon and Winter Soldier just by a hair in the opening weekend, head to head. They both came out the same weekend, of course, right? But a lot of people felt like some of these numbers don't make sense because Samba TV was not reporting Thursday's numbers. The movie came out on Thursday, but they were just reporting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Whatever, semantics, right? But the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because yesterday they finally got access to the UK numbers, right? And I just want to put it out there because this is important when we talk about US media versus UK media and how we talk about films. But so Justice League, according to Samba TV again, did 751,000 UK households watched it during the initial release. That's more than triple Godzilla vs. Kong, which in the American side, everyone said that movie did much better than Justice, right? And then it did much better than Wonder Woman. This movie's banner, I think, yeah. Let me move back so you guys see it. It did much better than Wonder Woman 1984, and it did much better than Mortal Kombat, right? And then I have a graph version to show that here's the Snyder Cut all the way up here. It's trending at a rate that's just higher, a different plane than every other movie that Warner Brothers released on HBO Max. So I felt that these numbers I wanted to share because I feel like it raises some questions that why hasn't Warner Brothers and HBO Max reported their numbers? I mean, an easy win's an easy win. When Wonder Woman 84 came out, they right away took the win. They're like, oh, this is how well it did. This is how it's doing for our streaming service because it's good for investors. For some reason, for Justice League, they don't want to talk about it, including Deborah Snyder, who had an interview with Insider a couple of days ago, and she told them that even she, as a producer, never got even one word numbers. They never called her, never told her or Zach, hey, here's how your movie did. It's just been no communication. It's just like, hey, the movie's out, deal with it, right? So this is something I wanted to bring up. I don't know if any of you guys have a point on this one. There's no real question I can ask about it, but if you have a thought on this, definitely share it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest way to read this um, is that they just don't want to they don't want to engage with the positivity, because it begs the question that why haven't other things been announced? Well, Wonder Woman 1984 came out and it did well. Um, you had an announcement about Wonder Woman 3, like literally I think it was a few days later or something like that.
It was the Sunday after, yeah, the same Sunday.
And then so Snyder Cut comes out, or Zack Snyder Justice League rather comes out, and it's done as well as it's done. It just begs the question. But also, like, if you put it 1-to-1 together, I just think like it's more about ego. Like Deborah Snyder as a producer not getting the numbers, or them not contacting Zack Snyder. He said it himself that they've been anti-Snyder on their front. He said it in an interview with Jake's Takes. I think that's the
yeah.
Might not be sure, but so it just shows that it's an ego thing. They want to engage.
Yeah, and more even on that note, I mean, Zion, you can jump in whenever you want, but I think that for Justice League, it's also interesting that, I mean, like you said, you take any film, you take the win. Like, even if you're anti-Snyder, and you can say, we're not doing any more Justice League. That's their prerogative. They own the characters, right? But to not report the numbers is almost like a spin in the face of the investors, people who are putting in, the stockholders who are holding AT&T shares. Like, this is something you put out. Every win you get, you say it. Like when Godzilla vs. Kong came out, they were on top of it. HBO Max communications, they were just saying, look how well Godzilla vs. Kong did. And then all these other numbers, whether it be on Amazon, this been just for 4 straight weeks, Zack Snyder Justice League has been the #1 best-selling film on Amazon, right? And there's all these different numbers and data we can see. And we see it's doing good. And the only data which we're saying, just take it, is how HBO Max didn't do that well. But for every other place, it did so well. So I don't know. Something didn't feel right. I don't know if you have a final thought on this one before we kind of move on. But it just feels, I thought it was interesting bringing me its interesting disparity.
It is interesting. And it really, I mean, there's no other way to look at it besides ego, because you're right. They're not really reporting on the numbers as they are. They're not even acknowledging how amazing it's doing worldwide, and they're just focusing on allegedly it doing not as well in the US and HBO Max, but still well enough that it warrants at least a conversation like Wonder Woman 1984 did, where they got an announcement straight up. It was around the same numbers. So why aren't they acknowledging that? Why aren't they moving forward with it? And I think it's just an ego thing, because this shows that their original decision was wrong, and people have been talking about it for years, and they really just want to, now that it's out of the way, they don't want to tread those same waters again. They just don't want to acknowledge it all, so people don't keep bringing it up that, all right, look at the numbers. Why aren't you moving forward? It's a good business decision as well. But in their heads, they've made their minds, and they just want it out of the way and people to forget about it as fast as possible. So that's why I feel like they just do not want to engage with it any longer.
Also, from a PR standpoint, it's kind of stupid because you could have, as Frost said, you could have easily took the win and said, hey, like, we did really well. Zack Snyder Justice League, amazing. Took it as a win. And then at the end, you could have been like, okay, but we don't want to continue onwards. Like, you could have done that. And that actually would have been a smarter way of putting things to bed.
But see, that's the ego thing again. That acknowledges that they knew they were wrong with their decisions in 2017, which proves that everybody, all the fans, all the people saying they were right about the bad mistakes they made.
The fact that the fact that this movie even got out is an acknowledgement of that fact. Like, regardless of like the way they try to spin it, of course, for them it was about money and whatnot. They saw that it has potential to make money for them in the short term, and then HBO Max subscribers and whatnot. But regardless, the movie existing is a reality that, yes, you guys were dumb in 2017. But from a public relations standpoint, and none of us have degrees in this. Like, none of us have studied this stuff. This is common, this basic stuff that you should know. Where the communications or the marketing people at Warner Brothers, like, they're actually dumb. Like, they don't know how to control, like, narrative even. And the fact that your fans are able to do that better than the people that you're hiring. One, you should hire us. We can help you out. But two, it's just pathetic. Like, it makes you think, like, how are they running that shit? You know what I'm saying?
It'll be interesting to see where it goes next. And well, I mean, realistically, I mean, the realistic answer is that it's not going anywhere. I mean, when they just don't want to do it, they're not going to want to do it. They're just ceasing communications. It kind of is what it is situation. It's a never, you never say never, but at the moment, it's looking a little like unlikely that we're going to be hearing more about Justice League on that side. But for people who are Zack fans, he'll be doing many more things. At
you know, honestly, on the last point, even if they decided that they want to do it, I don't think Zack is going to come back and work with them, in my opinion.
And maybe Simon Value, I don't know, but I think he likes the characters, he likes the actors, but I think he doesn't want to go through like, you know, when you're, I said before, no matter what profession you are, no matter what hobby you have, no matter what interest you have, if there's someone over you who's impeding on that and making sure you don't get to have fun while doing your work, then it's not a place you want to work. And if there's another company who's giving you more money, more freedom, more everything, just you don't get to use Superman and Batman, you take that option. So you can just do more creative projects that don't involve these characters. So last point before we head out, I wanted to thank you all for helping on our emergency water aid. And I just want to pull up, I'll just screen share and make it easier. Yeah. So let me just screen share and open that window up. Okay, so from all of us, this is like you guys are awesome because we did not think that when we first put it out there, I was like, okay, we're gonna make $1,500, $2,000. You know, like I was trying to gauge how the audience is gonna react to it, but you guys did 3 times what we were initially estimating, and we ended our charity yesterday, not 2 days ago, and we ended at over $4,600, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for donating and sharing. I sent an update to all the people who have donated, but just in case you guys have not gotten a chance to read it or whatever the case might be, I just wanted to bring up that with this money, we'll be able to build 7 large wells, right? And we'll build 1 small well. These 8 wells in total will be providing clean water access for 1,500 people. And that's not one time. It's not like 1,500 people getting 1 water bottle or whatever, which is still an act of kindness. But what your money, what your donations are going to do is provide water for years to come, right? It's going to provide people for years can get water now in these villages, in these refugee regions across Pakistan and Afghanistan. We really appreciate that you guys kind of bought into this, because I know a lot of our fans happen to be on the domestic side, on the Western world, and you guys are going to think more like, hey, what's in it for us on this one? But to see the amount of outpouring that we got from here, from people of all colors, races, religions who came through and donated, that shows that you guys entrusted with your money, and we want to make sure that you guys know that every single penny will be going towards a good cause. So again, thank you so much. Well, if you guys have any thoughts on the Venom 2 trailer or the Zack Snyder Justice League numbers, let us know in the comments below and join the debate. From myself, from Zayan, from Umar, and from Samir, we're the Faruqi brothers, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.